Welcome everyone to Monday Afternoon Roundtable. It's good to see all of you. I've been away a couple days. Got
right.
Bradley
Where
and
you
Brianna
been?
with us.
Hello,
today.
hey.
The pretty side of the group. Both of them are just lovely people. Can you just tell by looking at them? And she's all happy today. What we're going to talk about, and I need both of your inputs because this is what I do. This is kind of my side of the office, and I do expert witness testimony. And
Okay.
it's important in today's court proceedings because experts can bring a lot to the table, or they can destroy a case in the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
The expert's on the stand. So you kind of get what you pay for with an expert witness, sort of like you do with a bondsman, sort of like you do with a private investigator or whomever. So, and there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
And what I try to do, I don't advertise any of my expert witness cases, but it's word of mouth. And with the Bar Association in different states, they know who to go to on certain, like use of force, motor vehicle crashes, child custody, whatever it may be, the expert that they might need.
And you do all of those, right?
I do. I'm classified in 3 different expert fields: use of force,
Use of force.
police pursuits, and law enforcement policy and procedure, which is kind of a catch-all.
Yeah.
For
There's
the most
been a
part.
lot of police pursuits
A
cases
lot
for
of them.
you,
And so,
hasn't there?
and what happens when there's a death involving a pursuit or a wrongful death and a use of force incident, they all kind of fall into the policy, because if you don't have policy, then you're going to be in a big bind when it comes to
Right.
court. So that's where I'm a little bit different than some of the others. The thing with most experts, a lot of them have the PhDs. They work for the university systems. They got all these pedigrees, but they've never stopped a car at 3 o'clock
Yeah.
in the morning. They've never been in a pursuit.
Right.
They've never been in a struggle for their life, and they've never had to shoot anybody or never been shot at.
Right.
So that's kind of where Blue Line, or what I try to do, is bring my expert. When I worked as a law enforcement officer for 30 years, just like Bradley as a bondsman, you know the field, you know the industry is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. And so
Yep.
You're hands-on.
right. And so what I want to try to do when I go before the jury, and I've got several wins under my belt, which is a good thing, because each case you go into, the best case scenario is get a verdict for your client, or an outcome that's beneficial to your client, i.e. monetary
Yeah.
award. And we've gotten several that are in the $4 to $5 million range, where the client received
Wow.
money based on a use of force incidents or shooting incidents. And I'm not sitting here saying that all law enforcement, every case that comes across my desk, I'm going to take.
Yeah.
I review it and say, yes, the law enforcement officer did wrong, or no, this law enforcement acted accordingly. Because there's some shootings that are, of course, justified.
Right.
They're in the danger for their life. Just had one at Charlotte PD. I don't know if you saw it on the news last week, where the DA come out and said that the law enforcement acted responsibly and there's not going to be any charges. And I looked at the video, and they did. I mean, they hesitated to try to save this guy's life, and he went for the gun, and it was over
Yeah.
at that point. So
What do you do?
every case that comes across is not a case that needs to go to court from an expert standpoint. Tim and I were talking off camera before. At one time, the expert could be, you only had to prove yourself one time as an expert in federal court. You could go in, and in state court for that matter. If you were ever deemed an expert by a superior court judge or a federal court judge, you were an expert. You
Yeah.
didn't have to prove yourself every
Right.
time. They've changed that, and which I'm glad, because now every time I go testify, they take me through the voir dire with the defense attorney and the prosecutor to show why I'm an expert. I can't just get up here
So
and
they
say,
just ask you questions?
for
Each
a
one?
day,
Wow.
sometimes in hours, if not days,
Yeah.
showing why you're an expert.
Okay.
And ultimately, Brianna, the reason sometimes what separates me is the fact that I can say, I wore the badge,
Yeah.
carried the gun, and I did the work. And
Being in
that's-
the field is, I feel like, a much more better training and makes you a lot better at your job than going and studying it and then having the license.
I agree.
Plus you were under the pressure. Like you have so many
Yeah.
years under your belt, and it's just because the individual maybe did college doesn't make them,
Right. Kind of like engineers, they give them the book, but they don't know how to run the machine. What is it you say?
Exactly.
I know how the
That's a good
machine
one.
works, but I don't know how to work it.
I like it. I got to
Something
remember
like
that
that.
one.
I think
And-
you said that.
To me, expert witness is absolutely wonderful because you never know. If you just take someone's word for it and
Yeah.
there was more there, it's great to have people like
I
you,
honestly
you know?
didn't know anything about this until I started working with you, which
Yeah.
is pretty insane.
And again,
Pretty
there's doctors that do expert, and
Yeah.
I've watched some of them
I could-
before.
yeah.
Some of the medical field in a wrongful death cases,
Mm-hmm.
in any kind of surgical procedure. One where the
Yeah.
individual left drops an item in the person's body,
no.
and they sewed it up, and so stuff
Oh,
like that.
no.
Right.
Doesn't take much of an expert to come in and say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that was wrong,"
Yeah.
but still, they have them in
Right.
the different fields in the engineering, like you said,
Yeah.
chemistry. Science, whatever it may be, that expert can come in and testify. So luckily they got it changed. Now, one thing, there was a New York Times article that was pretty interesting about, what happens if a rogue officer becomes an expert later on? How is that going to change the dynamics of expert witness testimony? When I say rogue officer, one of those officers that,
It has a record of doing bad things.
thank you, or
Yeah. To
walks
say it
around
politely.
Billy Badass,
Yeah.
Billy Jack kind of
The good old boys, I guess you'd call
Well,
them.
yes,
maybe.
yes, or those that kind of go out and do their job in not under industry standards or not as a
Right.
professional law
Yeah.
enforcement officer. I guess Dirty Harry
Yeah.
would be a
Yeah.
good,
Okay.
We have a lot of those in the bonding business too.
yeah.
Sure.
And Private Investigations has them as well, and it only takes one
Yeah,
to,
to ruin the
hurt
name.
the industry
Yep.
for years to come, because there's usually legislation follows a ill will investigation by a private investigator or a bondsman,
Yep.
where they'll come out and say, we need statute to cover that. And then they write it so broad that it's hard to even.
Yeah.
Kind of contradicts itself sometimes.
It does. But there's a lot of, I've seen experts out there that have been those rogue officers in before, but what happens in those cases, they do their background as far as who they are, they vet them is the key word there, and find out this guy wasn't a good, or lady wasn't a good police officer, much less an expert witness, and show in court, because the jury's sitting there, they're hearing every word of this,
Right.
and you can tell by those jurors' looks if they're believing you or not. If they're saying he's full of shit,
Yeah.
he's never done this or he's
Yeah.
never done that. But when you can sit there and those jurors start to nod their head, saying, "Okay, yeah, he gets it," then you know you've
got 'em.
you've hit them. Yeah. So, but sometimes there are some rogue officers that go out there and try to do that, and they work in that field. With the new system, the way it is, the rules of evidence is basically what it is. When the officer comes in or the expert comes in, each time that judge is going to say, and that's the way it's been in federal court. And let me tell you this: one federal court case I had in the Western District of North Carolina, the judge, who I considered more of a rogue judge, and
Yeah.
you've seen them,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
and they run the courtroom the way they
Yep.
want to run it. And they said, there's no experts needed in this case. And
Yeah.
both sides had experts. I
Yep.
was an expert on the defense side. Law enforcement had their experts too. And it was a bad case. Ultimately, the jury, and so we're all there ready to go. And he said, there's no experts needed. It wouldn't let us testify.
Wow.
So that, in my opinion, that opened the door for an appeal.
yeah.
For sure.
Because
Or they
they
hide.
didn't let us,
Absolutely.
right? But what happened was the jury found in favor of our client. So even without my testimony,
Yep.
but had they used their expert, they might have
Yeah.
shown differently.
Yeah. Right.
So they've appealed. So it's under appeal. And a lot of money was given too in this
Wow.
case. And it was a Fourth Amendment violation under the search and seizure laws. But it's not. I don't think that's the judge's decision to make, because it's
Right.
It's case law.
Yeah.
It's been proven, and each expert has to prove themselves to
Right.
the jury and to the court. Sometimes it's just the judge, but most time it's to a jury. But it's like any other legal matter. There's so many loopholes, and you have to really be cognizant of what you're doing when you're sitting in that stand.
Yeah.
Have you testified in court yet?
Not yet. 4 years in, not
Okay,
yet.
well, that's a good thing, I guess. But what I recommend you do is, and Jason and Tim, and they're behind the scenes back there, but when we were learning to be police officers, we were in our training program. Hell, I went to court as much as
Oh,
I
I'm
could.
sure, right?
And-
Lawyers subpoena you guys for every little thing, don't they?
Right, they
if
do.
it's-
But I went and watched those that were really good, and I
Yeah.
watched those that weren't so
Yeah.
good in testimony and providing testimony, and I learned from that.
right.
That makes
Yeah.
you better. So then
Sure
you,
does.
you kind of see, what judges go with what and what, doesn't let it slide. And,
It's
and,
always so different.
that's how you get the knowledge,
Right.
is to get in there and you actually
You got to get
hands on, like I keep saying.
The key from an expert's standpoint is discovery.
Yeah.
Being able to get all the discovery in the case, everything, because if you don't have all the information, you can't provide an expert
Right.
opinion.
Exactly.
So what I try to do is I send the attorney and I say, here's what I need. I just give them a checklist. These are all the things I need. They send them to me. One that I'm working right now is a motor vehicle crash involving a police officer and a gentleman, a pedestrian was killed on a pedestrian crosswalk. So that one's going to be. Then I've got another one, high-speed pursuit, killed a mother and a daughter in a crash.
So what happens? What
actually
happens
believe I know
to
about
them?
that one.
Do they go? They probably go to prison, right?
No.
I mean, are they
Usually
charged?
Usually
or
it's a financial settlement.
Like
okay.
a lawsuit.
Okay.
A lawsuit in federal court. Sometimes there is penalties based on the criminal part of it.
Okay.
If there is penalties from the criminal, and then that's where the courts have to decide: is it civil or is
Right.
this going to be criminal?
Right.
This can go either way. It could
Because
be
some
criminal.
families would want to press charges,
Sure
right?
they would.
Yeah.
Most of them are just looking for okay,
Some money.
some settlement, a settlement for our children.
Yeah.
I've gotten two, just like the one I just said, with the two people killed in a car crash. One's in North Carolina, and one's in.
You won that one, didn't you?
No, it's still.
Or they-
I won another one years
Okay.
ago. This one had just. Both of them are new.
Okay.
One's in North Carolina and one's in Oklahoma. And that's where you try to do is if you can broaden and get cases from other
Yeah.
states, that really helps you out too. But again,
And they can pull you from other states just because of your credentials
right.
here. Okay.
Yes. And then,
That's
but
pretty
each
crazy.
That's
court,
That's
each
awesome.
court's the same. I mean, you got to go in and you got to show
Yeah.
why you think you're an expert,
Right.
Mr. Mundy?
I think that helps too because it's a different atmosphere. It's
Different state,
You're around
nobody's-
different people,
yeah.
and
Right.
you don't know anyone. They
Right.
don't know you. You
Yep.
know, so
No conflicts there.
But what's bad, and you've seen them in your business, when you see expert come in and they badmouth or they try to tear you down
Right.
Yes.
to make their case look better.
Yes.
I never do that.
They-
And they'll always ask us, tell us about the opposing expert.
Yeah.
I said, I've researched everything I can find. He's top notch. He understands his field.
Yeah.
And when the jury sees that, and I've had it where the other side says, if I was looking for a defense expert, that's who I would hire.
Right.
One of the other experts
Right.
said that about me.
That's good.
And then I said good things about him, and the jury likes that. They don't like seeing these.
They know it's a fair case.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you're looking at all sides. You're not just looking at you're looking at the facts
Right.
of the
Right.
case and all the evidence before you. And some of it may hurt your case. And that's what I try to do is tell the lawyers before we go to trial, these are the strengths and these are our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And so if they're 50-50, then you can work with it. But
Right.
when it's overwhelming that your case is weak, more likely not.
it's
you're
top
gonna-
heavy.
Yeah, you're going to lose your case. but you still got to try. From the legal standpoint, the lawyer standpoint, they're out there to make money and to work and to help their clients, and they're under ethical requirements just as we are. Mm-hmm. And the expert witness field, I think, needs a few more ethical rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Just like bondsman and
Right,
private
for
investigation
sure.
industry.
Oh gosh, yes.
And we're lacking in that field somewhat. So hopefully we can work with that. But anyhow, I enjoy what I do. I love it. Sometimes I get from law enforcement, they feel like that I'm hurting them, and I'm not.
Yeah.
They feel as if you're not their brother anymore.
True. I'm not. I'm not I'm the thin
Yeah.
blue line.
Yeah.
But the thing is
Bradley,
you
thank
took
you. That's
you
true.
took an oath to serve us.
the law.
to help an individual out. It's
Right.
not all about. Some people get the whole brotherhood thing, which is like your old buddy. Listen, when you're on the outside looking in, of course you're going to be mad that you're not part of the good buddy system.
True.
But if they're running it the right way, you can't be mad at that.
Right.
What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
And the way I explain it to people, I had a chief of police one time come up to me, and I've said this on other podcasts. He sat beside me in the courtroom before I was to testify. And we're great friends. I would do anything for him, and he'd do anything for me. But he came up to me and said, I can't believe you're doing this.
Wow.
I cannot believe you are doing this.
Yeah.
And I said, what are you saying? He goes, you were a law enforcement officer for 30 years. Why are you representing this individual? Why are you doing it? I said, I'm not representing anyone.
Right.
I said, if you tell your guys to do their job, stay on their toes, David Mundy won't be on their heels. And I'm not saying that
Right.
from in a threatening standpoint. I'm just saying that from a case by case. Law
There's
enforcement.
standard procedures. You
Yes,
have to
and
follow
do it,
them.
and follow the procedures, the guidelines.
Yeah.
And Tim was talking off camera a while ago about the responsibility of supervisors. I always bring that up in my cases.
Yeah.
And that shows not only is the individual at fault in not doing their job appropriately, but the supervisors failed to respond, which created a climate within the department, culture within the
Right.
department.
Yeah.
The wrongdoing's okay. So that's where we stand with that. But anyhow, that's but we had an incident with a bondsman this weekend. Bradley, tell us a little bit what we want to do. I want to bring you in and Jason and Tim do it,
Just slightly, we can go. Next week we'll have the actual, the full coverage of this. So the other night we had a bondsman out of Morganton in our house, and the fugitive, the gentleman that was inside the home. Allegedly, he pulled a rifle, and the bondsman took his life. I'd love to know more about this. That's why I'm saying let's go next week, because there's a lot of things that plays in a factor. One, if he missed court, they have all right to be there to apprehend him, put him back in jail. Two, there's 7 reasons to go off of a bond, and if one of those 7 reasons were for the bondsman to go off of it, by law they can go off of it.
And they can pick him up.
They can enter the house when the individual puts their address on the application and states, "This is where I live." You can enter that house.
Warrant needed.
No warrant needed. So when they say, "Well, I'm going to call the law," that's fine. Call the law, because we like to have second eyes there. That's what I would have done in the situation, because if I think that something may go south, I always notify law enforcement to let them know, "Hey guys, I'm in the area.
Yep.
Things might go south. Things might get a little rocky. Don't shoot the wrong guy."
Yeah.
To be honest, because
you govern yourself accordingly. You wear
vest.
cameras,
Body
you wear a
cam,
vest,
yes.
you wear a badge, you wear all the things that
Yes.
identify you as the bondsman.
Yes.
nowadays you got to wear a body cam. Some people say, "Well, that's just to see what the individual's doing nosy." No, it's going to cover your hind end.
Yeah.
Sure do.
Because if the gentleman's wearing a body cam and everything that I just stated is true, then that body cam is going to save him and his crew. But if he wasn't wearing a body cam and he was the only one there, which we don't know yet, it's your story against his, and one's dead.
Yeah.
But are you in agreement with me in saying that there's a lot of misconception with the bonding industry?
It
The
is.
general public, they just don't understand what
don't know
a
how it
bondsman
works.
can do and what
No,
the legalities are.
everyone sees Dog the Bounty Hunter and they think we make
Oh.
money when we
I like
apprehend
I
him.
honestly hate it when they try to compare his career to his.
But I do like Dog. Dog
Yeah.
did kind of come out and show people
Yeah.
what we do for a living in a sense. But see, we're not bondsmen. We're bondsmen. We're not bounty hunters. See, we're
There's a
fugitive
difference.
recovery
Yes, there is.
agents.
Yeah.
A bounty hunter isn't liable for the bond. He's just someone that
He's
you
getting paid
call
to pick 'em up.
because you can't find them and you need an extra set of hands. So they're licensed to do that. In North Carolina, bounty hunting is actually illegal. You have to be a licensed bail bondsman to apprehend anyone in North Carolina.
In a few different states, right?
Yes. So some states a bail bondsman can't even go to.
Mm-hmm.
And
You got to
that's
have help.
I think that'll be a good topic next week, and I'm looking forward to listening to it.
Yeah.
And but it's dangerous. It's just like police work.
Absolutely.
You're going into
Yeah.
a situation where it ain't going to be good,
Exactly.
Right.
and so stuff could go downhill fairly quickly. So
It'd be cool to have expert witnesses for bail bondsmen. Maybe that could be a future
go.
career for you.
Well,
In a case
especially
like
when
this.
one does wrong or doesn't
Right.
follow their own policy or procedure or anything
Yep.
like that.
I do believe there should be more procedures into getting your bonding license and just
Absolutely.
a 3-day class and someone backing you. I think they do a background check, but I honestly don't think that's good enough.
Right.
Because if you have misdemeanors, you can become a bondsman, and I'm not knocking anyone with that, but just because you don't have a felony yet and you have a record, I think it should go before the board, and they
Right.
should decide, just like as a private investigator, if you have all
it should
these,
be equally as strict.
you got to go before the board, and they have to decide if they want you or not. So I think it should be a little harder to be a bail bondsman instead of just taking a class and getting your Mickey Mouse badge, I guess you would say.
Mickey Mouse badge.
Yeah. All right, what are we drinking today, Jason?
TX Texas straight bourbon from
TX Texas. Say that 3 times fast.
It's a bourbon, a whiskey. What is okay?
Bourbon whiskey.
What's the alcohol on it?
It's 90 proof.
Cool.
90 proof.
Looking forward to it. Are we going off air first and coming back, or how are we going
Yeah.
to do today? We got Jason and Tim back here running the show. So we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna come back and do the last call segment. Good to have both of you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been out, so I haven't seen either one of you, so it's good.
I know you grew facial hair since
I know.
then.
Hey, I like that. Do you like it? My mother doesn't like it.
It's okay.
She told me to shave it.
I got a baby face, so that's why I do. No one takes me serious. So if I get you out of jail, they're like, this guy, look
That
at this
beard's
little
never
baby
leaving.
face. So I grew a beard. Now I look like an old man.
No.
Somebody said I look between Colonel Sanders and a goat. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, but anyway,
Well, guys, hope y'all stay tuned next week. I'll be on here.
Be
Hopefully I
very
don't bore you.
interesting.
Got a lot to talk about.
it will be good.
Some good, some bad, but I think everyone needs to be aware if you do end up in trouble and you do need to be bonded out, you really need to know who the bondsman is that you're using.
Absolutely.
The cheapest isn't the best. Just because they say 3%
Yeah,
and
what
you
you pay
get out of
for.
jail.
Get what you pay for.
Exactly, because not saying this happened, but you can have people that harass you because they feel like, well, I got you out, so now you're my piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
So it really matters who bonds you out.
I agree. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to next week. Thanks again.
Thank you,
We'll
guys.
Be back in just a
Thank y'all. God bless.
Welcome back, everyone.
All right.
Monday afternoon roundtable.
Got
Last
a
call.
Last
different
call.
look.
Yeah.
Jason's got us a new bourbon that we're going to test today. It looks good.
Yeah.
Sweet little bottle.
Nice presentation here. It's from Firestone and Robertson Distilling Company
Fort Worth, Texas.
out of Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, it's called TX Texas Straight Bourbon Whiskey. 90% or 90 proof and 45% alcohol. Did a little bit of digging on it. It says they use locally farmed corn and wheat and a one-of-a-kind yeast that was captured and skillfully cultured. It's supposed to be remarkably smooth, and it has unique flavors to include dark fruit, sweet spice, caramel, and it's aged 4 years. Each cap is supposed to be unique in that it's covered in leather, typical from like a cowboy boot, and may have unique punches and circles in the leather with a custom wood ring over the leather and the cork, showing Western craftsmanship in a cowboy boot style.
I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Got a little leather top on it.
Yep. When I bought it at the liquor store, the ABC store, they said it was rather new, and they hadn't tried it, so they couldn't give any feedback on it. But I'm excited. It's got a good look to it, good color.
What'd you call it again? Liquor.
Liquor store.
Liquor store.
Liquor store. The liquor store. The ABC store.
Last week we had a whiskey out of Indiana we'd never heard of. Now this week we're drinking out of Texas.
So we're
So
getting out of the comfort zone here, aren't we?
Yeah, we got one, hopefully, in a week or so. Scotty Pippen, it's called Digits. It's really smooth. So we'll bring that.
where's it
in.
distilled at? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. For some, of course, he played for the Bulls.
He was originally from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Born.
Great guy. But this is a signed bottle, which is kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to testing that one out.
Got a heart.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Happy
A good week.
New Year.
Good New Year.
2024. Got to be better than 23 because 23 about killed me.
You can tell the 90 proofs there.
Yeah.
Off the beginning.
Yeah.
Good flavor. Pretty good taste.
It's got a standard kick, the front and the back end, both.
You know, I did the dry January.
Really.
It lasted 3 days.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
What was all that about? 3 days. It was pretty good. Well, first I said, well, I'm just going to cut back on my bourbon and whiskey, the hard stuff. Then I said, beer's okay. So I'm going to, after the third day, well, then it went all downhill. So
If you're dry, you eat something.
that's true. So I'm off that.
Off the wagon or on the wagon.
I'm back on it. But if you're going to do that, do it in February. It's a lot shorter. So
Y'all are making this 21-day fast very hard for
it's good.
Right.
you. Don't,
It is
It's
good.
good.
How the podcast go?
I think
Sounded good from behind the camera.
we did expert witness testimony and kind of what it's about. It's a short segment. And then Bradley and Brown talked about the bonding industry and some of the pitfalls and all the obstacles that go along with that, just like the PI industry. Rules and regulations, what to do, what not to. Next week's going to be really good because Bradley's going to come in and talk about some of the cases he's worked, some of the situations he's been in. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, that'll be a good one.
The national championship football game, college football games tonight.
Sure
Michigan and Washington,
Washington.
I'm pulling
State
for
of
Washington.
the Huskies.
Husky.
And they're the 1 and 2 ranked team, so it ended up from the playoff
Like
working
it
out.
should be, I guess. Yeah. So a lot of controversy with that.
Mhm.
What was the little situation with the Falcons and I don't remember.
They
Little
the Falcons and the Saints last
Run the
night.
score
They scored at the last second of the game on the goal line, and they didn't need to, and that kind of got even the
stats are stats.
Well, yeah, and you can't tell a player, well, let's kneel down, you know, especially yesterday I seen a defensive back make an interception, standard interception in an NFL game. Well, he celebrated and cheered, and all those defensive players got him and hugged him and high-fiving there. Finally, they realized that interception made him $750,000 bonus.
Oh, I'd be jumping up down too.
You know,
Doing backflips. And
he got that extra bonus if you do A, B, and C, and he accomplished that. You know, so I'm glad. You know, good deal. And the fans finally realized what was going on, and they cheered. You know,
good. So what else going on?
We dodged the big winter storm of 2024. It's
The
supposed to be-
Snowmageddon.
Yeah, that was supposed to happen. What, Sunday or Saturday? Saturday.
Saturday.
The local news networks. One guy had a ruler out showing how much.
That dadgum dairy farmers made a killing, didn't they?
I sure did.
Yeah,
Milk
big,
and
big
bread
makers.
dud, wasn't it? Now they say we were supposed to get some this year though, but who knows?
A big southern Gulf rainstorm coming through.
That's tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
100% chance of rain tomorrow, and the low's 30, 35 in Charlotte, so we might see some sprinkles, snow.
You guys got some big cases going on. We had our meeting today, our weekly meeting. So it's a lot of interesting stuff with some of the behind the scenes that goes on in our industry and how we try to build cases, and we look at them from different angles and we talk about it, which I think is a good thing.
Oh yeah,
Oh, it showed this morning us discussing our cases of the week, and Jason and I had a case that's two separate cases, but these two cases we might be able to help each other. They're going to be connected. If we can connect these two together, it would be great for all sides.
Yeah, I think we live in an area that's small for the most
Yeah.
part, and you're going to have some connections.
crossover.
Yeah, and so if anytime you can help one another, that's a good thing. I always think so. I like this whiskey or this bourbon, excuse me, bourbon. It's good. I would buy it at the liquor store. How much does it cost?
Around $35 if I remember. So not too bad.
Mm-mm. Of course, we drink ours straight or on the rocks, which we get a more flavor. That would be good with a mix. A drink. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it would. Maybe a ginger ale or a Sprite or something like that.
Yeah, all that mix I think would be good with that.
My friend Kel Yarborough died last week.
I seen that. And,
South Carolina boy,
and he's,
Timmonsville was his hometown.
people don't realize how,
He put NASCAR on the map.
Yeah, he
he
was-
and Bobby Allison.
yeah. They had a big rivalry, but they were friends, but they were rivals.
Oh, it was
But-
it was
but
the
they
Daytona
heated-
500.
Yeah, they got a fight.
they
Yeah,
weren't
but-
they weren't friends.
Well, they were friends, but they
Hell,
weren't. But they,
poor old
Alice,
Alice.
they got in a fight.
Allison, they interviewed him after they had Kale's funeral. He said, "I still hate him." He said,
Really? Was
"Yeah,
that bad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he says, I'll never forgive him.
He said he
Really?
knocked me out of the Daytona 500. See,
I hear it, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
and the people don't realize the Daytona 500 can carry a team throughout the rest of the year. You win the Daytona
Especially back
500,
then,
that's
yeah.
the Super Bowl, and NASCAR starts with the Super Bowl and ends up with the championship.
Was it Bobby Allison? Am I talking? Is it the right?
Yeah, it was Bobby
Okay,
Allison.
well-
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you remember Bobby kept saying, "Yeah, I kept blocking every one of Dale's punches with my face." That's what he said back then. He said, "I blocked every one of his punches with my face."
Yeah, he said I met his fist right in the tip of my nose. He said it hurt. But Kel was a good guy. He was aggressive. He was a Dale Earnhardt type driver.
Yeah,
I mean, he let him when he was something else. But he was 70 or 80. How old was Cale? He's up
How
there.
old he was.
But he was NASCAR's legend, and so we're losing a lot of
There ain't
people.
many of them left.
No, there's not. I don't know any of them anymore.
Well, I seen a thing on the internet the other day. It was the NASCAR points champ from this past year, and I didn't even know what his name
No,
was.
I don't. I've not kept up.
Did you see where the little Daytona 500 winner? He's a kid, one of those kids. I don't know his name, but he carried his trophy, the 500 trophy, into the Waffle House.
No, that's pretty cool.
You know how big that son of a
Yeah,
bitch is. It's huge.
I love the Waffle
and he
House.
carried it in. What was that boy's name? He's a little driver, and he carried it into the Waffle House because
That's
he loves
pretty
going to the Waffle
yeah.
House. And all those people, like, they realized who he was, and it was kind of cute.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
The Iowa caucus is coming up. Is it this week or
I don't-
next week?
I think they got one more debate on the Republican side, and it's going to be sponsored by CNN. So
That's Wednesday night.
that should be interesting on what type of questions will come from CNN. But
I'll be glad when it's over.
yeah,
So it's starting. We're starting to see the end now. We can see the end of the tunnel.
we're in
South Carolina has come up in the world kind of similar with Iowa when they changed
Yeah.
their caucus. Or
They
their,
did. They
excuse
changed
me,
their dates.
Primary dates.
Yeah, and that moved them up the ladder a lot.
Yeah. So I think South Carolina can make a difference.
It'll be interesting to see what South Carolina GOP
Here's
does with their primary.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting with Nikki running. They will see if her grassroots will.
I think there a lot of people are supporting her right now. I think they've
I
kind of.
like her on that.
Well, as do I.
She's had some gaffes
I don't know that I
here
vote
lately.
for her, but I like her.
I do. She's had some gaffes, but so far what she says,
She's a smart person.
very much.
Did you happen to see what Donald Trump said about the school shooting the other day?
Yeah, it should go away. Let's
Yeah, he
forget
said
about
we're just going to have to get over it.
get over it.
The day of the shooting, he said it's sad, but we're going to have to get over it.
Well, I also
That you don't say stuff like that.
I also seen where John McCain's daughter was blasting him because he made a comment this past week at a rally that John couldn't raise his arm to vote when he did the vote for Obamacare years ago.
He did the thumbs down.
Yeah, and he was making the remark how he couldn't raise his arm because he was injured as a POW. He was making fun of it, which he's done in the past. That's just shitty. Sorry. I mean,
That's who he is. But our Biden, he hadn't fallen down this week. I don't think.
yeah,
has he?
well, give it to the weekend.
Well,
over yet. Give 'em
during
another couple
the
days.
interview last week, a reporter fell out of their chair and he jumped. It was loud. He said, "You all right?" And he said, "Just for the record, that wasn't me."
At least he got a-
Quick.
he got
he
a
said,
good-
"Just for the record, that wasn't me this time."
good sense of humor on it. So
But I just wish our parties would kind of. They're acting like children.
If we don't get a two-party system going in this country, we're headed down.
what they ought to do for the House of Representatives and the Senate is if you come in as a new senator or congressperson, you have to be buddied up with somebody from the other party. Not just like to help you with logistics of, this is where you go, or this is where this is or that is in the Congress. Just something where you have to interact with somebody from the opposing party, and that would make where you develop a friend or a
colleague
colleague
on the other side.
Yeah,
that doesn't think like you.
yeah,
do,
and you
or-
don't, but you discuss things and logistics wise, which
That's
would
gone. That's gone.
it's gone.
Yeah.
It's so cut and dry. You're so tribal, but they need to have interaction with each other to break this down.
But I don't see it coming together anytime soon. I think it's more divided, and it's going to get more divided when you have people running that are running like we have now. Mm-hmm. And I don't see it getting any better. And it's like 9th grade or 6th grade high school bullshit. So, we need more statesmen. We need more people to get in. We did get a budget passed, I think.
yeah, I did see that. Yeah, which is rare.
Yes, it is, because there was going to be a lot of argument over that, and just because of the stuff going on in Texas.
Well, the problem I had within the past 2 months was Teletubbyville holding up the promotions of our military. That was wrong.
Well, he had to fall back and
Yeah, he had to punt, but it still
Crap
was a
on that.
3-month, you know.
Oh, it was longer than that, wasn't it?
It was 90 days. They said it affected the pay the last 90 days. Your pay got
These are
affected.
people that never been in the military they're doing.
You know, he's a
football.
claims to be a star football coach. You know, he's
Okay.
punk's what he is. But anyhow, you don't do that to our military. That's our strongest thing
about-
we support.
What about our Secretary of Defense going into the emergency room? I think he was going into
ICU.
so it was an outpatient
Yeah,
situation
yeah.
that went south.
It was
somewhere.
normal that went, and it made him move to ICU. Didn't notify the White House for 3 days.
Yeah. Somebody's probably in trouble over that.
Yeah, that's not a good move.
Was he capable
He
of
wasn't.
notifying?
All right, let's not say him. 'cause
Yeah,
you're right.
let's
It was the
say that.
Pentagon. It was the Pentagon. That
Somebody his age should have
Yeah.
been making
Yeah,
notifications right
It wasn't
then.
him. Correct.
Yeah, he may have not been capable of if the way it
What's his
sounds.
name again?
Austin,
Austin.
is that right?
Yes.
He's a good guy.
He's a retired general.
I think he's doing a great job. And
Yeah.
it's right now there's a lot going on, but still, I think he should have done.
Yeah. Lloyd
I think
Austin.
Lloyd.
Yeah.
I think it went. I think stuff started happening once he got there, and then they realized, okay, he needs to go in ICU, and I guess he didn't want people.
Those
know.
protocols should have been set up before he went into the hospital.
Well, one would think.
But it was a routine outpatient procedure, and he either got an infection. They really hadn't said.
No. So anyhow, politics, and never going to change. So, all right, we got next good episode next week.
Next
Tune in.
next week's going to be a good.
What are we going to rate this?
All right, glad you did that. I give it a strong 8.5.
I'm with you. At 8.5 to a 9, that was a good drink, and it was out of Texas. I don't think I've ever had any bourbon from Texas.
I haven't either. I'll give it an 8.5 too. It was it's a little. I'm not going to say harsh, but it lets you know it's there.
It's there. It's
The
good.
flavor was, I
Good.
do too. I
Yeah.
like to be aware of it.
You can-
The flavor was good, and we've all got friends in Texas, and Texas is a wonderful state. But yeah, I liked it. What?
I wouldn't
Go
go.
Texas.
I wouldn't go overboard on Texas.
I love Texas. I've been there 2 or 3 times, and every time I've been there, it's been great.
What part did you go?
Went
Yeah,
to, College Station once.
Texarkana.
Yeah, and Dallas, Fort Worth twice. So I've been.
I'm not a Texas fan.
I'd like to go to Austin.
I guess the only good thing ever come out of Texas is Nolan Ryan.
Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I guess. Oh,
I got to
really?
see Nolan Ryan play baseball one time. Sure did.
And I correct myself. Maybe 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Cash,
He's been in a long
a
time.
long time. I
He's an early one.
thought, I don't know why, but I thought Dolly was the first country.
Johnny Cash in the Rock and Roll?
Oh
I
yeah,
did not- I
man,
did
he's
not
been in
know
a
that.
long time.
I guess he went in under Rockabilly.
Yeah, Rockabilly, him, and on the flip side, Jerry Lee Lewis is in the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
He's got some good country songs. His late 70s.
I did-
You
I
saw
did-
him in concert.
I thought
One
Willie.
sentence,
I
love
thought
that.
Willie did great during his show with the Rock and Roll Hall of
Oh,
Fame.
yeah,
I
Willie
thought
did,
I
yeah.
thought he did a great being
Chris
90 year
Stapleton
near
sang
90-year-old
with him, right?
Yeah, and Dave Matthews.
And his birthday
I heard
celebration
Dave's
was good.
he's gained a little bit of weight.
Yeah,
He's
Big
chubby.
Dave.
it's like the rest of us. It
Yeah.
comes with age.
Yeah.
Doesn't it come with age?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks again for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week. Monday afternoon roundtable. Last call. Thank you.
Thank you.